welcome to another one of our unboxings. Today in not so sunny Edinburgh, honestly, every time we record something, a video or whatever, the weather is just not great lately. We've had a couple of weeks that the weather has been amazing, but today the weather's not great. Anyway, today in not so sunny Edinburgh, we are taking a look, Scotty and I, at another March of the Machine Commander deck, and this one is the Divine Convocation. And yeah, this is the Convoke deck. Thank you so much, Scotty, for that intro. So yeah, we're taking a look at the Convoke deck today. And yeah, we've seen the first two decks already. This is going to be the third one. We have two more. And I must say, so far, these decks aren't bad at all. There's preferences to each and every one of the decks. I am rooting more for the Phyrexians as usual, but it's still a pretty decent setup and lineup. And the cards in the decks tend to be not so bad so far, especially the Knights deck, which I hope you've seen our unboxings and also the upgrade review for it. And yeah, what else? Well, I don't think there's anything else to say, so let's start looking at what's inside this deck. Now, just like every other commander deck for this expansion, you get the 99 plus 1 card, so 100 cards of commander deck. You get the 10 Planechase cards, out of which 5 are new and 5 are old. You get a 10 double-sided token. You get a Planar die to play Planechase. You get the display commander, as usual. You get a life wheel, the deck box, which you won't be able to put the cards in once you sleeve them. A strategy insert, which is pretty nice, and it gives you a little bit of fluff and a little bit of an idea of how to play commander and Planechase, and then a reference card. And of course, you also get the sample of the collector's booster, which contains one uncommon showcase Multiverse Legends, and then one rare or mythic rare alternate bordered card. So it can be any extended art card or alternate bordered card. So yeah, let's have a look. The deck is called Divine Convocation, and the commander is Kasla, Coleslaw, the Broken Halo. Wow, I would toss that salad for sure. Anyway, this is a very interesting commander. It is a white, red, and blue commander. So that's a very interesting combination for Convoke. And without further ado, we will get right into it. As usual, these are the contents of the deck and the box proper. You get the Planechase cards and the sample collector booster. Then you get the deck box with the commander on top. And as usual, the nicer ones are going to be sold by Ultra Pro because they have a deal with Magic the Gathering and WotC. And then you get the wheel, the planar die, which is green on this one. And you get the insert, the tokens and the display commander, and the deck proper. So without further ado, let's arrange this and let's get cracking. First off, we'll start with the collector boost and sample pack. As usual, there are 3 cards in here. One is the token, 2 are the cards that I've mentioned before. I've not hit anything amazing on these, but you can get something out of it. So the first one is Inga and Essica, and this is the alternate border March of the Machine card. This is a very nice card overall. I like it. And then we get Dax's Blessed by the Sun. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else to it. I like this card. It's really nice. Look at the Planechase cards. As usual, if you've not played Planechase, these are oversized cards that allow you to basically change up the style of the game proper. It reminds me of the old Vanguard cards a little bit, but in all, what you do is you get an extra ability or extra things on your turn, and your opponent's the same way. And you cycle through a Planechase deck, and many things can happen. I have never played Planechase myself, but if you're interested in figuring it out, you can look at guides online. Make sure that if you're buying sleeves for these, you know the right sizing. And yeah, that's about it. We'll look at them just now. The first one is called reality shaping, which is a phenomenon, and when you encounter reality shaping, starting with you, each player may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. That's really, really strong. Then you get Gavony from the plane of Innistrad. All creatures have vigilance, and whenever chaos ensues, creatures you control gain indestructible until the end of turn. Hedron, Fields of Agadim from the plane of Zendikar. Creatures with power 7 or greater can't attack or block, and whenever chaos ensues, you create a 7/7 colorless Eldrazi creature token with an Annihilator 1, which means that whenever it attacks the defending player, sacrifices 1 permanent. And then you get Krosa from the plane of Dominaria. All creatures get +2/+2, and whenever chaos ensues, you may add Wooburg. That's not bad at all. Stancia, plane of Innistrad, and whenever a creature deals damage to 1 or more players for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever chaos ensues, each creature you control gains tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target player or planeswalker until the end of turn. Valor's Reach from the plane of Kylem. And whenever your team attacks with exactly 2 creatures, those creatures gain double strike until the end of turn. That's good. Whenever chaos ensues, untap up to 2 target creatures your team controls if it's a main phase, and there is an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. That's really, really good. Next up, you get Strixhaven. It's a plane from Arcavios. Instant sorcery spell players cast have Demonstrate, which says that whenever a player casts an instant sorcery spell, they may copy it. If they do, they choose an opponent to also copy it. Players may choose new targets for their copies. And then, whenever chaos ensues, return up to 1 target instant sorcery card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. Next up is the Fertile Lands of Sylvania from the plane of Anatosia, or Antosia? Whatever. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type land that land can produce. Extra mana. Whenever chaos ensues, reveal cards from the top of your Planar deck. Until you reveal a plane card, chaos ensues on that plane, then put all cards revealed this way on the bottom of your Planar deck in any order. Enigma Ridges from the plane of Equire. Okay, interesting name. When your planeswalk to Enigma Ridges, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic land cards less than or equal to the difference, reveals them, puts them in their hand, then shuffles. Whenever chaos ensues, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. This is very nice. Ooh, this is really beautiful. Norn Seed Core, that's cool, from New Phyrexia. That is nice. And okay, this says that when you planeswalk to Norn Seed Core, chaos ensues. That's wonderful. It makes sense with the theme. Whenever chaos ensues, reveal cards from the top of your Planar deck until you reveal a plane card. Planeswalk to it, except don't planeswalk away from any plane. Put the rest of the reveal cards on the bottom of your Planar deck in any order. Okay, so this is like a Jolly or a wild card. Okay, so that's pretty cool. As usual, these are really, really nice for the fluff and being able to visualize some of the planes that we've heard and played through in the previous expansions and throughout the times in Magic the Gathering. So that's really, really nice. Now we have the Plan die. The Planar die is two-sided, realistically, and it has only 2 sides that are faced, but it's a 6-sided dice, and yeah, this is Chaos Ensues, and this is Planeswalk. It's not bad, actually. I like this one. It's green, and alright, so next up, you have the wheel, as usual, and the insert, which goes into detail as to explain what the deck is about, theme, a little bit of lore, and how to play the deck. So Kasla, the Broken Halo, and then you get the special rules for Commander and Planechase. As usual, if you want, you can pause this and have a look thoroughly throughout it. This is pretty nice. I always like these inserts because it allows you to learn a bit more about things, even if you already know how to play the rules. A little bit of fluff never hurts, I say. Next up, we'll be looking at the Commander proper and add the tokens that the deck can create and generate. So this is the display Commander, Kasla, the Broken Halo. Alright, so this is a 5/4 Angel ally for 3 generic, 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white. And of course, it's a legendary creature with Convoke, so that's the theme of the deck. Has flying, vigilance, and haste, and whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, you scry 2, then draw a card. So this is not bad. It's a decent ability actually for a Convoke deck. I will say though right away, these colors are missing out on one of the best colors for Convoke at the moment. Is green, and it's very unfortunate that that's the case, because green has some of the best cards for Convoke in general that I've seen throughout Magic history. Anyway, so it's a fairly simple commander. It does what it needs to do. It allows you to scry and then draw cards. Now, you know, you can always just filter through the deck whenever you cast a Convoke and draw cards. So that's really good. It has flying, it has vigilance, it has haste. So definitely it's the kind of creature that is fairly strong. It's not a slow caster, so it's a 6 cost, so you must have some ramp to get it onto play, I would reckon. And other than that, let's see what the Convoke spells are. I've had a look a little bit throughout the Magic history, and I must say that the Convoke spells are not, they're kind of a mixed bag. They're either pretty good or pretty bad. So even with the latest expansion, some of the better ones are in green, as I said. So we have a bird, a spirit, a warrior, another soldier, an Eldrazi, that's really cool, squid, oh my, and a tentacle. We're in theme here, hentai, look out. Goblin, elemental, another elemental. Then we get a fairy, an elemental again, another Eldrazi, some humans. Ooh, that's a very beautiful angel. Wow, she looks dangerous. I like her. An insect, Elspeth, Sun Champion. So this is the minus to destroy all creatures with power above 4, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. Spirit and kobolds of the Carekeep. Oh, of course, they're brought back Carekeep. Okie dokie. So this is the deck. Let's have a look at the deck proper, and let's have fun. So how about you guys? Have you been enjoying playing with your commander decks for this expansion? Which one did you get? Did you actually get one or not? And which one did you prefer? For me at the moment is Brimmas, because I love Phyrexia, but the Knights one is a very strong contender. Okay, so we have Kasla, Saint Thraft, and Rem Carolus. This is a team up card. I will put down a little like that, maybe. Whoop, sorry. This is a team up card. It's a 3/4 spirit human legendary for 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 white. Whenever Saint Traff and Rem Colors becomes tapped, you create a 1/1 red human creature token. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, you create a blue spirit creature token, 1/1 with flying. And instead, if it's the third time, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. And whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, untap Saint Thraft and Rem Carolus. So this is a very good card, extremely good card, and it really synergizes. You'd be surprised. I was looking at the Brimmas one. It's not as good in the deck proper, and some of the generals or alternate commanders can be, you know, deceiving. I don't know that it has so much synergy as others. So these are very good cards so far for the Convoke deck, and now we will go through it. Somehow it feels like these cards are a little bit bent, but maybe it's just a press. Okay, so first up we have the Wand of the World Soul. So these are going to be the first 10 new cards. And the Wand of the World Soul is an artifact for 2 generic and 1 white, and it enters the battlefield tapped. Okay, you tap to add 1 white, and then tap to add next spell you cast this turn has Convoke. Okay, so it would be really good if it didn't enter the battlefield tapped. This is really annoying that it does enter the battlefield tapped. It would go up significantly. It's okay, you know, again, it depends on how you build this deck, but we'll look at it as a Precon. But if you don't have a lot of spells that have Convoke, something like this, and there are other cards that give Convoke to the spells that you cast, something like this could be good. But again, the fact that it comes in tapped is a really, really annoying thing, and it gimps the quality of the cards significantly. Okay, next up we have Flockchaser Phantom. This is a Convoke Spirit. Okay, 5/5 for 4 generic, 1 white, 1 blue. Has flying and vigilance. Okay, and whenever it attacks, your next spell it casts this turn has Convoke. So yeah, this is decent. As I was saying, you need to give spells Convoke. So you attack with it, and it has vigilance as well. So that's always good because it allows you to tap to Convoke, and yeah, that allows you for your next spell to get Convoke. It's not bad, and I like it. I like it a lot. Next up, we have Wildfire Awakener for X, and 1 generic, and 1 red, 1 white. Is a human wizard 3/2 Convoker. When it enters the battlefield, you create X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens with whenever this creature becomes tapped. It deals 1 damage to target player. Now this is very good. This is very good because those creatures you're going to tap them for Convoke creates X tokens, so that's always good. You can use the current board presence to create more board presence, and yeah, this is really, really nice. I like it. This is a good synergy card. Next up, you have the Icor Elixir. We've seen it before. It's a Planechase card, and it allows you to roll an extra Planar die if you are going to roll a Planar die, and it asks for 2 generic. And that's it. It's an artifact. Then you have the Path of the Ghost Hunter, which is the Will of the Planeswalker card for this deck. It's a white sorcery for X generic, 1 generic, and 1 white. You create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. Okay, so yes, there's a lot of token generation, and then Will of the Planeswalkers is just as usual. It's not a bad token generation, I will say that. If you don't have any better ones, because there are some really good token generations, definitely get that one. Next up from Yukapin, I guess. Not really, I think this is one of the new cards. So this is a 4/3 artifact vehicle that looks dragster. For 4 generic and 1 blue, it cannot be blocked except by vehicles. Okay. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant sorcery card from player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. That spell would be put into graveyard exile instead, and you could for 2. I mean, it makes no sense in this deck. I guess you can have some graveyard interaction, which is not bad, but it really doesn't make any sense in this deck. And tap into crew when you want to be tapping to do a lot more with Convoke is just not something that I will look into. All right, we have Miss Meadow Vanisher, a 3/2 Kithkin Wizard for 2 generic, either of the Azurus colors. And whenever it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent, and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your next end step. Okay, so this re-enables ETBs. This is really good if you play around ETBs, definitely. And there are quite a few ETBs with Convoke, so that's not bad at all. I like this one, and it's one of the new cards, and I love Kithkin from the lore one set. These are really beautiful cards. So, and next up we have Nesting Dovehawk. It's a 2/2 bird creature for 3 generic, 1 white. Has flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you populate. So you create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. And whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on Nesting Dovehawk. This is strange. This is a lot of token generation, which is great because this is what you want to be doing for a Convoke deck. You want cheap creatures that do something or do something tangentially, but I've not seen amazing Convoke creatures so far. I'm just gonna say that. Anyway, next up we have Card Carrier Wind's Fury. If I'm not mistaken, this was originally printed in M20. This is a 3/3 legendary bird wizard for 1 generic, 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 white. Has flying, and whenever you cast a no creature spell, you create a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying. sacrifice a spirit and add 1 red, so that's not bad, I guess. This is the Elspeth Sun Champion that we were speaking of when we saw her emblem. It's a 4 loyalty legendary Planeswalker Elspeth for 4 generic and 2 white, and it +1s to create 3 1/1 white soldier tokens, and -3 to destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater, and then -7 to give an emblem to all your creatures to have +2/+2 and flying. It's not a bad Elspeth. I like this Elspeth actually. It's strong in some decks because, you know, there are loyalty decks out there. For example, Atraxa with Proliferate. The problem is it's very expensive. And again, we're very heavy so far. We've had 4 cards to create tokens so far, and only really 1-2 cards that aren't the commanders or the generals that allow us to convoke. So that's skewed so far. Hopefully it will be fixed. It's not a bad card, as I said, and also it allows you to wipe the board and keep your little tokens, but it might just be better to replace it with something a bit better in case you do find better. I know I sound really repetitive just then. Okay, so this is the Planeswalker. Okay, now we get the Locust God, which is a 4/4 legendary god creature with 4 generic and 1 blue and 1 red. It has flying, and whenever you draw a card, you create a 1/1 blue and red instant creature token with flying haste. So this can interact with Saint Traft and with Kasla, definitely. Actually, it's just Kasla because this has the interaction. And then for 2 generic and 1 blue and 1 red, you draw a card and discard a card. So that allows us to continuously create tokens. So this is very, very good. And then when it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next stanza. Now, this is very expensive. You need to ramp into it. It does not have Convoke, unfortunately. It would be perfect if it had Convoke, but it's a very good card because it has a lot of synergies. So yeah, it's great. Unfortunately, it's yet another token generation that doesn't have Convoke. Angel of Finality is the next card. Is a 3/4 angel creature for 3 generic 1 white. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you exile target player's graveyard. What? I guess graveyard hate? No, but this makes no sense. I wouldn't play it. It doesn't have any tap effects. It only has 1 ATB effect. It's great to have some graveyard hate, but I would like more synergy, please. Thank you very much. Angel of Salvation. It's a 5/5 flash convoke creature. Finally. For 6 generic and 2 white, so that's not a cheap cost. It has flying, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you prevent the next 5 damage that will be dealt this turn to any number of targets divided as you choose. Meh. Very expensive damage prevention. Yes, you can cast it for 4 or for 3, and then it's a decent card. It's a 5/5 flyer. That's it. That allows you to prevent 5 damage. It's not bad if it would prevent all damage, like a fog effect, and then you get to have a flyer, and even then a fog for that much when fogs are usually around the 2 cast mark. It's a bit expensive for what it does, but it is a flyer of 5/5, so at least you get something out of it with Convoke. It just doesn't seem like, oh my god, this is a really good card. Austere Command makes another return here, so always good to have some removals. Chasm Skulker is a squid horror. Yes, that's the squid token generator. It's a 1/1 creature for 2 generic and 1 blue. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on it, so that's okay. And whenever it dies, you create X 1/1 squid tokens, blue, with Island Walk, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker. Now, this is a good token generator, yet again, but again, we have, just gonna check it out. I'm just gonna do that for now. ATB, Convoke, Convoke Synergy, and Convoke, right? So far we have, right, not a lot except for the commanders. So I'm just gonna put it like that, so by the end I can count and see how many Convoke synergy cards we have and how many useless cards we have. Or not useless, but you know, a lot of token generation is great, but to a certain degree, if you know what I mean. Cultivator's Caravan, it's a 5/5 crew 3 vehicle for 3 generic. You tap to add 1 mana of any color. Meh. Yes, it's great, you want to have tap effects, but again, you're supposed to be tapping to do stuff that synergizes with Convoke or creates tokens. You know, you can't, like, yeah, it's not that great for me. I'm sorry. Why are you putting crew vehicles here? Just because they tap? I don't understand. Okay, 3/3 Angel flying. Maria Angel is a 2 generic and 2 white landfall creature. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Okay, so this is another token generator, so let's go with that. Then we get the Exotic Orchard, Frostboil Snarl. That's a beautiful art on that card. Precon Snarl. So these are the show lands. You know, you have to show one of the lands for it to come untapped. And then we have Hour of Reckoning. That this is the Hour of Reckoning is one of the things I was thinking about for removal for this deck, and yeah, this is definitely something that's going to be good because it destroys all known token creatures. We've seen this in the Brothers War Commander token deck, so this is a good removal for this kind of deck if you have a lot of tokens. Keeper of the Accord, Human Soldiers for 3 generic and 1 white, 3/4 creature. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if the player controls more lands than you may search the library for a basic land card, put it on top of the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. Not a bad way to get through your deck for basic lands. It's only planes. So still, it's not bad, and it allows you to generate 1/1 tokens. It's a 3/4, it stays on the board. You can tap it to Convoke, and it doesn't do much once it taps, but it allows you to continuously get stuff. So this is a decent one, it's not bad. Carekeep, there it is. Mentor of the Meek, this is a good token creature. It's a 2/2 human soldier for 2 generic and 1 white. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 generic. If you do, draw a card. So this is synergistic with tokens. Nadir Kraken is a 2/3 Kraken for 1 generic and 2 blue. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1 generic, and if you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on Nadir Kraken and create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. Nice. And this is token generation. Portent. Okay. Fairy Stream. Secure the Waste. Create X 1/1 white warrior creature tokens. It's an instant for X generic and 1 white. And this is another good way to create tokens. Sky Cloud Expanse. Okay, that's a good card. Temple of Alignment. Temple of Epiphany. Again, these cards, the lands, I don't really go too much through them because if you want just straight out of the pack, they tend to be okay for mana, but they give you anyway. Ooh, the Venerated Loxodon. Now this is a good Convoke spell. It's a 4/4 Elephant Cleric for 4 generic and 1 white, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you convoked it. So if you can recast it, you can buff up your creatures and your tokens. This is really, really good. Finally, another Convoke creature. Okay, next up we have an enchantment called Whirlwind of Thought. I really like Narset on this. It's a 1 generic and 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white enchantment. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you draw a card. Okay, it's not bad. This is a good draw engine for these colors, but yeah, this is a deck that wants to be casting a lot of Convoke spells, and most of the Convoke spells tend to be creatures, so okay. It's a good card, definitely, if you build your deck right. Next up, Cloud of Fairies. I mean, it's not easy to cast, I will give you that, but then again, this whole deck is you know, the commander is not an easy cast, just like most of the commanders in this set. Now, Cloud of Fairies is a classic. It cycles for 2. It's a fairy creature for 1 generic and 1 blue. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you untap up to 2 lands. This is a reprint of the Urza Saga. It was recently reprinted in Dominaria Remastered set. It's not a bad card. It allows you to untap lands, and it creates a body. But again, why? You know, it just doesn't make sense of why you would put this card here. Okay, Command Tower, Command Sphere. Ephemeral Shields is an instant for 1 generic and 1 white. Has Convoke, and target creature gains indestructible until the end of turn. Okay, target creature. It's very situational and only single targets. So if there are better spells, definitely play those instead of this. Like, but at least it gives Convoke. I mean, there are better spells in this set, if I'm not mistaken. Much of the Machine will Convoke an instant that allow you to do better. Okay, next up we have Evolving Wilds, Fracture Power Stone, Goblin Instigator. Okay, so when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It's a 1/1 goblin rogue for 1 generic and 1 red. So yet again, it's a token generator. Next up, Goblin Medics is a 1/1 Goblin Shaman for 2 generic and 1 red, and whenever it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to any target. Now this is more the kind of synergy that I was looking at, right? This is when I'm talking about Cloud of Fairies. Yeah, I want cards that do more when I tap them rather than just enter the battlefield and untap 2 lands. So this is synergistic. Impact Tremors is an enchantment for 1 generic and 1 red, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. It can escalate really quickly because you have a lot of tokens, but then you would build this deck around tokens more so than Convoke. Again, yeah, kind of scattered in what it's trying to do. Ooh, Spirited Companion, that's nice. It's a 1/1 dog creature, enchantment creature for 1 generic and 1 white. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Again, why are you here? I love this card, but why are you here? Ooh, Suture Priest. This is a beautiful Phyrexian Cleric, 1/1 creature for 1 generic and 1 white. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield on your control, you gain 1 life. And whenever a creature enters the battlefield on your opponent's control, you may have that player lose a life. Again, token generation synergy, very good. It feels like this is exactly that deck from... Okay, so we're back. Yeah, as I was saying, it feels like this is more centered towards Nayali as a commander. So the deck that came out with Brothers War, Nayali, it really had a lot of synergy with tokens, and this is what it feels like. This spliced in half of that deck into a Convoke deck. So yeah, I mean, this is a great card for the right deck. So next up, Metamorphic Expanse, and then Village Bellringer. It's a 1/4 flash creature for 2 generic and 1 white. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you untap all creatures you control. See, this kind of effect, that's pretty decent. On a Convoke deck, you want to be untapping more and more cards, and if you have spells like instants that interact with your opponents and they have Convoke, that's a really good card, and in the end you can always just untap on your turn. So this is a much better interaction. Then you get Banisher Priest, a 2/2 human cleric for 1 generic and 2 white. When it enters the battlefield, you exile target creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So this is a prison effect. Why are you here? There are better removals. Arcane Signet, of course, makes a return. Then you get Battle Screech, a sorcery for 2 generic and 2 white. You create 2 bird creature tokens with flying. Has flashback. This is a old, I think, Judgment card, if I'm not mistaken. Again, token generation, very heavy. Finally, some more Convoke. Chant of Vitu Ghazi. It's a 6 generic and 2 white instant. With Convoke, and you prevent all damage that will be dealt by creatures this turn. You gain a life equal to the damage prevented this way. It's too expensive, way too expensive. If this was a 2-coster, yeah, absolutely. But for what it does, there are much better spells to play. And again, this is one of the few Convoke spells that you get to see, so it's not that great. Okay, Conclave Tribunal makes a return here. For 3 generic and 1 white, is an enchantment with Convoke, and when it enters the battlefield, exile target null and permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. again, there are better enchantments to play in white in general, and there are, you know, better ways to exile. Yes, it has Convoke. That's about it. Sorry, not that great. Devouring Light is an instant with Convoke for 1 generic and 2 white. That allows you to exile target attacking or blocking creature. Attacking or blocking? Meh. I mean, okay. It's not bad. Again, it's not very strong when you compare that there are better cards that don't have Convoke that do even better, but it's not exile. But it's not attacking or blocking, so it's okay. Yeah. Okay, Durgar Hedge Mage. It's a 2/2 Dwarf Shaman for 2 generic in any of the Boros colors. So when it enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more mountains, you may destroy target artifact. And when it enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more planes, you may destroy target enchantment. What? Like, why? Okay, Foul Sage is a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard for 3 generic 1 blue. Whenever it becomes tapped, you may draw a card. Okay, now this is something that I was looking forward to. More of that, yes. Flight of the Equinox. It's a 4/5 Human Knights for 7 generic and 1 white. It has Convoke and it has Flying. It is fairly expensive for what it's trying to do. Fairly expensive. It's an 8-coster. Yeah, I mean, come on, aren't there any better cards at all? Like, it's very expensive. Okay, Improbable Alliance for 1 blue, 1 white. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. Okay, and then for 4 generic and 1 blue, 1 red, you draw a card and discard a card. So at least it has a little bit of draw, but it's really expensive for the draw, and there's better token generation as we've seen. Next up, we have Migratory Route. It's a 3 generic, 1 white, 1 blue sorcery that allows you to create 4 1 white bird creature tokens with flying, and it has basic land cycling. More of that, I guess. Create more tokens. And then we have Mystic Monastery, Rogue's Passage. Seraph of the Masses is a star Convoke Angel creature for 5 generic and 2 white. It has flying, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. Now see, this one is much better than the Flight of the Equinox. I understand that, you know, when you have a lot of tokens, it's easier to cast those kind of cards, but you want to have 2/1s or 3/1s, something that gives you a board presence, and when you're doing that, and this is a better card than the other one, for example. Now, I mean, it's not a great card. It's not like, oh my god, it's amazing, but it's still a decent card in this kind of deck. A Skull Clamp, of course, this makes a return. This is a beautiful card. The quick creature gets +1 -1, and it's an artifact equipment for 1 generic. And whenever the creature dies, you draw 2 cards. You equip for 1. Very good card. It makes a return from the Mirrodin block. Soul Ring, you tap to add 2 generic. We've seen it. Stoke the Flames. Now this is one of the spells that I was hoping that would make its return here from this set, and it is a Convoke spell for 2 generic and 2 red, and it deals 4 damage to any target. So this is a really good Convoke spell. Sorcery Blasters, great instant removal. Tetsuko Mezawa Fugitive. It's a 1/3 human rogue legendary creature for 1 generic and 1 blue. Creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less can be blocked. Again, what the hell? This is more for the token deck than for anything else. I guess I could put it there, but yeah. Okay, then you have Wear and Tear. It was a double-faced instant. You either destroy a target artifact or you destroy target enchantment. Not bad, but why? I mean, there are much better cards. Temporal Cleansing for 3 generic and 1 blue. It has Convoke. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it in their library second from the top or the bottom. So this can be annoying. It's a decent Convoke removal. It's not instant speed though, so just keep that in mind. It's okay. It's okay. Meaning of Minds. This is another Convoke spell for 3 generic and 1 blue. It allows you to draw 2 cards. Decent in this kind of deck. Shatter the Source is yet another Convoke spell for 5 generic and 1 red. You choose one. It either deals 6 damage to target creature, planeswalker, or battle, or you destroy target artifact. a decent Convoke spell on its instant speed, so not bad. Ren's Resolve, a 1 generic and 1 red sorcery. You exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Okay. Cut Short is a Convoke Destroy. Target Planeswalker that has activated this turn or tap creature instant for 2 generic and 1 white. Okay, there are better removals. Of course, again, I see a trend, right? There aren't a lot of great removals or cards, just let's say cards with Convoke. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So it's trying to give us some Convoke cards and spells that we can do something with that are themed in Convoke, because there are not so many in the color combination. But there are better cards that do exactly that, that just, or much better actually, not just that have Convoke, and others that just don't need Convoke that are better. So, you know, whatever. Joyful Storm Sculptor, another token generator from this set, is a 2/3 human shaman, 3 generic, 1 blue, 1 red. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you create 2 1/1 blue and red elemental creature tokens. Whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, it deals 1 damage to each opponent in each battle they protect. Artistic Refusal is an instant convoker for 4 generic and 2 blue. You choose both or one. You either counter and or counter a stagger spell, or draw 2 cards and then discard a card. So this is a bit better on the Convoke side, and that's it. Okay, then we get 8 plains, 8 islands, and 8 mountains, and then you get the how to play card. Okie dokie, so let's go to final thoughts. As I said throughout this whole thing, you know, this deck is very chaotic. In fact, this deck is a great base of a deck for token generation. You have a lot of great token generation interactions and small creatures interactions. So this is kind of the sad part. This next sad part is that Convoke really doesn't have a lot of great strong creatures or spells. It has some, but they're not that many, and they're not all in this deck for sure. Therefore, you'll find yourself with a lot of bloat. So out of 99 cards, you have around 24, 23 that are either token or EDB kind of interaction or small creature interactions that just don't make any sense. Again, yes, you want some token generation in this kind of deck, absolutely. And I would only use certain ones that are really good. There are some really good token generators out there, but that's 24 of them, right? That's a lot. And then you get around 19 Convoke spells, including the commander and including the general, the secondary commander. But out of these, realistically, the playables are, I would say, half of that, if you're really like lenient, because yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. So unfortunately, even though I love the theme of the deck, I love Convoke, and it's very strong if played correctly in, you know, standard or in Pioneer at the moment. It's something to kind of frown upon, because you're not using the right token generators that you would need, and yeah, the right tapping cards, so tap effects cards, or the right Convoke spells. So unfortunately, this deck falls fairly short on my scale. I would have to give it I'm really sorry, but either 3.5 or 4 out of 10 overall, because as a Precon, it is just not good enough for what it's trying to do. And Convoke is a relatively newer term in the terms of Magic Gathering history, and yeah, it's not something that I would definitely advise to try and play. Now, of course, if you're wanting to try and build a Convoke deck, definitely get this, because it gives you at least a basis, and you have some decent cards that you can play in there. But as I said, my main problem is some of the better cards in Convoke are actually green. Therefore, it kind of nullifies the color identity of the commanders and of the whole deck. Therefore, this is our opinion anyway. It's by no means like a god awful deck that I like, you know, it's just an average okay deck that is not really justifiable when you then have it compared with cavalry charge, with, you know, even like Brimaz had a decent basis to build for Phyrexians from there. It just needed a bit more narrowing down and replacing. Here you need to be replacing a lot of the cards, and this is why I gave it such a low score. I think that if you want to make it at least decent fun and not to get, you know, pub stomped at your local store with your friends, you definitely need to be replacing a lot of cards. And it's kind of sad, and maybe even replacing the commander identities and commander proper. So this is why I'm being a bit harsher on it. Either way, I love the deck. I will say this, I love the theme of the deck. I love what it's trying to do. I think it's too scatterbrained, if you want to call it anything else. It's just scatterbrained, and hopefully there'll be a better implementation of Convoke. There'll be better Convoke cards up and coming in the next expansions. Anyway, that was us, and that was our thought regarding the deck. And yeah, if you disagree, agree, whatever, just leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe and thumbs up this video if you do, and thumbs down if you don't like it, and let us know what we can improve. This interaction with our videos in such a small channel, it makes a huge difference, and especially if you subscribe and you watch our videos, it helps us immensely. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. From Scotty and I, we thank you very much. We wish you a blessed day, a lovely day. Be good, be kind, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!